The Disability Information and Advice Line is an organisation that provides support and resources to those living with disabilities in the UK. On the surface, the website seems to check out. It contains information on aspects of disabilities and how people can find help relating to various topics like benefits, and it's even linked by a few other reputable websites, including NHS Derbyshire and mylife.enfield.gov.uk. However, you don't have to dig for long until you find some very inappropriate and potentially dangerous content. So why is this website being promoted by what are supposed to be trustworthy sources? Let's investigate. If you enjoy internet mysteries and generally disturbing content, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can become a Ko-fi member or a channel member to gain access to uncut videos and other perks, or you can leave me a tip by clicking the thanks under this video. Thanks to anyone who considers this. DIAL, short for Disability Information and Advice Line, is made up of a team of experienced experts with a common interest on disability and catering to all aspects of living with a disability, according to the About Us section of the website. It comprises of a network of local centres, and the primary goal is to provide adequate information and support to individuals living with disability throughout the UK. They believe in equality for disabled people and oppose discrimination often faced by them, and aim to be a voice for those needing help. The main areas of focus for the organisation is welfare benefits, holidays, community care, equipment, independent living, and mobility and transport. DIAL endorses a few other charities that provide services, such as Henshaws, who offer educational help and courses that can lead to further education. There's a page on consultancy services in partnership with Bendrig, a charity that was established in 1978 and focuses on developing self-confidence and independence of disadvantaged and disabled individuals in the UK, with training courses for various activities, including climbing and canoeing. There are articles providing information, such as compiling the statistics of disabled people living in the UK, and top 3 programmes and initiatives for disabled people in the UK by the government. The website, dialuk.info, is linked by a few other reputable sources online, for example in a PDF produced by the Epilepsy Society on what help is available, shapingourlives.org.uk, which focuses on inclusivity, and even on mylife.enfield.gov.uk, a health and social care website, gov.uk being a domain name managed by the UK government, and the Derbyshire NHS website, which lists the email as helpline@scope.org.uk. Scope is a very well-known disability charity in the UK, and this email being linked with DIAL suggests that the two organisations are affiliated. At face value, DIAL seems to be a legit and useful organisation for disabled people. It's tied to other reputable charities and even endorsed by the NHS. However, when you look a little closer at the website, there are some glaring red flags that will make you wonder how this is even possible. Starting with the more tame stuff, the site isn't as fleshed out as it initially seems. The About Us section is a bit rambly. A couple of the articles just link to other pages on the site, and although some are under the recent articles section on the homepage, they're from at least a couple of years ago, so it seems like the site hasn't been updated in quite some time. The photos on the About Us page that are implied to be of the staff seem to be stock images. A reverse image search brings up various other sites using the exact same photo, and similar photos of the exact same people that were clearly taken at the same time. The Contact Us page contains no contact information at all, just a section at the bottom of the page where you can enter your name and email and send a message to them. The first line on this page reads, "Are you looking to find help as a disabled?" Not a disabled person, just a disabled, which obviously doesn't sound very professional. There is no charity or company registration number anywhere on the site, which is very unusual for what seems to be a charity, possibly even illegal. I'm pretty sure charity websites have to include certain information, such as the registered number and address, and none of that is anywhere to be found here. Compare the Dial website with other similar charities and it's basically a shell. While there is some useful information, such as advice on benefits like personal independent payment, this is seriously limited and not even a fraction of what you can find on other similar websites. Where things get really shady though is if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll come across a section titled Streaming Free Services. Here there are a bunch of links not to YouTube or ITVX, but to not safe for work adult entertainment sites. This is not a pop-up ad at the bottom of the page that could have somehow been missed by the site administrator. It was intentionally placed, sandwiched between the What is Dial section and the recent articles below it. A couple of these sites seem a little dubious too. There's Public Agent, described as, quote, something about tricking girls into doing dirty stuff right on the streets. Watch these fake agents smooth talking and using some money as their way of convincing. A description for another site talks about luring girls into doing forbidden things, and perhaps even more questionable, the Scout Boys, described as, quote, adventures of boys who are about to enter the manhood period of their lives. Needless to say, I didn't want to get put on a watch list, so I didn't click any of these links to see if they were as bad as they sounded. Under the Programs heading, there is a link to an article on steps to make the UK more disabled friendly. The first part is about the government being more involved and includes a few sentences that don't really say much beyond that the government should be more involved and could provide more funds. The second part is titled Bring Joy with Girl being the name of another not safe for work website. The text below that reads, Girl is becoming a place to visit among disabled folks. Seeing beautiful girls in such naughty scenarios has always been a turn on, but with multiple items it's becoming a thing not to miss. This series features 4K videos of some wonders of our lifetimes. Something about this part just feels particularly predatory. Now obviously many disabled people watch adult content, there's nothing wrong with that. And while I don't think this website is the place for it, there is a discussion that could be had surrounding the stigma that disabled people face when it comes to such activities, but that's clearly not the intention here. It doesn't seem right that someone who may not even be over the age of 18 and is likely in a vulnerable situation considering they're looking for advice, finds a website like this that claims to provide support and actually promotes not safe for work content without warning. Another page on the site is particularly alarming, titled The National Disability Sports Organisations. It details a few different sports events for disabled people, such as the British Blind Sports, Cerebral Palsy Sports, and associations, including the British Wheelchair Athletics Association and Mencap Sport. There's a description of each of these, then right at the bottom of the page there are 32 links, all to different pages on a Turkish website that sells Cialis. According to the site, translated from Turkish, Cialis is a product developed in laboratory environments to provide solutions to sexual health problems. Contrary to what is known as a result of its clean content, it does not have bad side effects. It is very practical to use, and the effects of Cialis on the person are quite large. It is a helpful product in the elimination of a problem applied by many people in the name of improving sexual health. It is also frequently recommended by experts to people in the same way. It can be easily preferred by individuals who want to solve their sexual health problem with a supportive product. Cialis is an ambitious product to produce solutions for every issue, whether it is an erection or organ problem. With the creation of safe environments, the fact that user comments are positive at this point is effective in the decision-making point of individuals. The Cialis erection pill product, which produces solutions to everything it promises far from exaggeration, is consumed by a large number of people. At first I was wondering, what in the snake oil black market is this? A pill that, quote, produces solutions to everything definitely doesn't sound legit. I googled it, and Cialis is actually a recognised treatment for ED and symptoms of benign prostatic hypertrophy or enlarged prostate, but that's it. It certainly doesn't produce solutions to everything, or really anything else for that matter. Although this website linked by Dial does briefly recommend that anyone with a different existing health problem consult with the manufacturer or an expert before taking the pill, it states numerous times that there are no side effects, which blatantly isn't true. According to drugs.com, common side effects include headache, flushing, nausea, upset stomach, stuffy nose, muscle pain, back pain, and pain in the arms and legs. More serious side effects, of which the incidence is unknown, include blindness, decrease or change in vision, blistering, peeling or loosening of the skin, difficulty speaking, inability to speak, inability to move arms, legs or facial muscles, and even sudden cardiac death. The serious side effects appear to be relatively rare, and of course many medications have serious side effects in a worst case scenario, but this does not strike me as a drug you want to mess around with, and you certainly shouldn't be ordering it from some dodgy website that claims it cures everything and has no side effects. This is by far the worst part of the Dial website. Sure, the not safe for work content is questionable, but this is outright dangerous, especially knowing that Cialis is significantly riskier for people who have other health conditions, and the people who are visiting the Dial site, mostly disabled people, are probably more likely to have such health conditions. It goes without saying that all of this content is out of place, and it kinda seems like the whole site is set up to lure disabled people in under the guise of advice and support, with the intention of driving traffic to these inappropriate websites and encouraging people to buy dangerous products from shady sources. But if that's the case, why is this supposed charity being promoted by the NHS, gov.uk websites, and the Epilepsy Society? As I said before, there's no contact information on the Dial website, but on the NHS page that links the site there is a phone number, so I decided to call it. My phone instantly recognised the number as Dial Doncaster, and unsurprisingly, because I called at nearly 11 PM, I was met with an automated message stating that the phone lines were closed and they're open Monday to Friday, 10 AM to 5 PM. I was going to call back the next day when the phone lines were open, but in the meantime decided to Google the number and found that it appears on dialdoncaster.co.uk. So it appears that Dial Doncaster is an official charity. I verified that on the gov.uk website. As expected, I wasn't able to find a record of the Dial we're focusing on in this video on gov.uk. Could it be then that the NHS and the Epilepsy Society somehow mistakenly linked dialuk.info rather than dialdoncaster.co.uk? Possibly, but quite frankly that seems like a ridiculously foolish oversight. What are the chances that various reputable sources, one being the National Health Service, would accidentally promote a site featuring not safe for work content and selling dangerous pills? I decided to take a look on Wayback Machine, and the earliest archive of dialuk.info was in January 2004. Back then, the site looked much different and honestly seemed much more legit. There was more useful information, a whole page featuring numerous links to other sites for more specific advice, a page detailing how you can become a volunteer for Dial, a members area, a section with a couple of case studies describing how the charity helped people, a section listing various companies that funded the charity, a search tool to help you find a local Dial, and contact details including a phone number, fax, text phone, email, and address. Most notably, there are no shady links to any adult content or dodgy products, so perhaps this was, at one point, a legit charity. There was also a charity number listed on the site, and when I googled that, I found a record of it on gov.uk, which informs that the charity was registered on the 2nd of December 1996. Then on the 3rd of June 2009, the funds were transferred to Scope, explaining why the NHS gives a Scope email address alongside the link to dialuk.info. So it seems that Dial was an independent registered charity until 2009. Looking at the financial history, the gross income went from almost £664,000 in 2004 to £95,300 in 2007. So I assume it merged with Scope because its income was dropping significantly, but it appears that Dial was still, to some extent, a separate entity, maybe just under Scope's wing. Going off archives of dialdoncaster.co.uk from as far back as 2000 and the charity records, it looks like there was a separate Dial Doncaster charity that was removed in 2007. From what I can gather, the funds were transferred to a second charity of the same name, which is now the Dial Doncaster that still exists to this day. I don't think it's affiliated with Scope anymore. The address listed on the dialuk.info site when it was originally created is actually the same address that Dial Doncaster uses now, so I assume that Dial UK was at some point effectively dissolved and replaced by Dial Doncaster, which is presumably a local service rather than a national one like Dial UK. When you search for Dial UK now, the first and only relevant result is the site with the inappropriate content. According to the archives, dialuk.info remained more or less unchanged until 2012, when most of it was unavailable and there was only a message that read, "You've reached the Dial website. The Dial network provides support to independent disability information and advice lines located throughout England and Wales, which help over 250,000 people each year. The Dial network is a service that was formed when Dial UK and Scope merged in 2008. We are improving the Dial network's web presence, so you'll be redirected to the Dial web pages on Scope's website." Within the next couple of years, the site would begin automatically redirecting to the Scope website without this message. In 2017, it stopped redirecting to Scope altogether, and there was just a blank white page with the following text. "Disability information and advice line, we are rebuilding." The next archive was in March 2018, and at this point, the site looked more or less the same as it does now, only without the not safe for work links. The first link of that nature was added sometime between May and August 2018 and was a link to brothercrush.org, which it described as social aspect of developing feelings towards other step-family members, brothers in this case. Taken into the fantasy world, the series features weekly updates, video content showing what having a crush on a stepbrother means, how to keep it a secret, how and if to announce this, a lot of questions that need detailed answers. Of course, this description somewhat misrepresented what the site actually was. It was a straight-up P site, not an educational dive into the social aspect of such interactions. I'm not even sure why brothercrush.org was linked then, because at that time it featured no content, only a message stating that the content is still in the making. Anyway, now I'm thinking that maybe the site was hacked and that's why it has inappropriate content. But if that was the case, you'd think the real Dial would have been able to solve the problem within the 5 years that have since passed. According to Whois, whoever owns the domain now lives in Washington, USA. I was hoping to find out when ownership of the domain transferred from Dial, but all it says is that it was last updated on the 7th of May 2022, and I'm guessing it only shows the most recent update. Regardless, it appears that some miscreant in Washington bought the domain, recreated the Dial site to make it look like it was still run by the Dial charity, for the purpose of driving traffic to their other not safe for work sites. Or whoever runs those sites paid this individual to do so. Mystery more or less solved. Assuming that's the case, I'm not sure there's anything that can be done about this site. It's not like it's impersonating a real charity because Dial UK no longer exists. It's also not outright claiming to be a charity, it's basically just taking advantage of the fact that the site was once used by a legit charity and happens to still be linked as such by other sources. Although there are links to the websites selling the questionable pills, dialuk.info is not directly selling anything or asking for donations, so it's technically not scamming people, even if it is arguably deceitful. I'm still not sure why these other sources still link to the site, which hasn't been used by the Dial charity for over a decade now. The NHS page was actually created in August 2017 and supposedly reviewed the following year, so it's not like it's been around since dialuk.info was used by the charity. The Epilepsy Society PDF that also links it was created in October 2021, and of course there's the enfieldgov.uk site. It's honestly kinda baffling how they're all still promoting a charity that technically no longer even exists. I can only assume that they had a list of resources from years ago and just never bothered to check all the details were up to date. The fact that dialuk.info was once used by a legit charity pretty much removes the mystery behind its appearance on these other sites, but it still highlights a level of incompetence, given that this site could potentially be dangerous, especially if someone actually bought those dodgy pills it's promoting. I contacted NHS Derbyshire and the Epilepsy Society to inform them that dialuk.info is no longer run by the charity and instead contains dangerous and not safe for work links, so let's hope they see it and remove it from their sites. If I get a response before I upload this video, I'll add in an update, but if you're hearing this, I probably didn't hear back yet. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments, plus any other internet mysteries you'd like me to cover. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Huge thank you to my Ko-fi members and channel members whose names are on screen now. I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday in a new video.